So in the last half hour or so then, Keir Starmer saying he had been listening to that question from his other party members as to whether he was best placed to lead the Labour Party as it continues to battle its political foes and set out its agenda for the UK in the years ahead. And he said he has heard that answer from the party, and the answer has come back no. So Keir Starmer making that announcement just a few moments ago that he is going to step down as leader of the Labour Party. It won't be imminent. There will be a couple of weeks for people to say that they want to challenge him or challenge for the position of Prime Minister of the UK, and hopefully a new leader should be installed by the time Parliament begins sitting in once again at the beginning of September before the party conference, which is usually middle towards the end of September. So Keir Starmer laying out his plans. Let's have a bit of a listen to exactly what he had to say.
I've spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I will ask the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party to set out a timetable with nominations opening on the 9th of July and completed by the summer recess. In the case of a contest, this will ensure a new leader is in place before Parliament returns in September.
Keir Starmer there speaking a short while ago outside Downing Street, where Doug Herbert, our international affairs commentator, is with me here on set. Doug, some of that speech, particularly towards the end, he got very emotional, Keir Starmer, didn't he? I mean, obviously, this is a man who fought to win that election 2 years ago, won it with a huge landslide. But since he became Prime Minister, things have got tougher and tougher for him. It happened pretty quickly as well.
Yeah, and ultimately he realized he had no choice, really, but to bow to the will of the parliamentary majority and also of a rising number of his own ministers who basically told him in no uncertain terms that, you know, we like you, Keir, you got to go. We do not think you're now the person who can lead Britain forward, lead this country forward. And, you know, you're right, it is quite a come down, you might say, from that landslide victory. But just to put that in context, Stuart, while this resignation, first of all, is the third time in the past 4 years, go back to 2022, Boris Johnson, the third time in 4 years where you've had essentially a prime minister resigning, not because they lost an election, but because basically their own party no longer wanted anything to do with them or just didn't think they were the right people anymore for various reasons. In Boris Johnson's case was because he was deemed to have breached and violated the law in certain respects. And remember, Liz Truss also judged for sheer incompetence within her own party and outside her own party. And now Keir Starmer, you could say a victim perhaps of geopolitical circumstance, but also a victim of a shifting mood in Britain itself, and a shifting mood in European politics, a much more populist tinge to those politics. It's harder now to be the type of character, the type of person that Keir Starmer is these days in politics. Very sober, very straight-laced, no real flash and sparkle, you could say lacking in charisma, right? No matter how good the record may be, that just doesn't cut it for a growing number of electors in today's day and age, which are more and more, we're more attuned to a politics, a sort of souped-up political cadence, a souped-up political personality, much more, cut and thrust types of politics. He was anything but that, and he often was seen as, while he would defend his policies, and he did today, right, citing the fact that an end to austerity in Britain, lifting children out of poverty in Britain, the NHS waiting list, the health list all falling, all of that. While he did all of that, it wasn't enough for the British people in the end, who still saw him as just not the right person at this time and age to stand up to people, say, like Donald Trump, and to handle the big crises of our time, whether the war in Iran or the war in Gaza and so forth. He couldn't deliver in the end. That was the perception.
Flash and sparkle, you used the term there, Doug. All eyes now are pointing towards Andy Burnham, not confirmed, of course.
Yeah.
Is he the man? Has he got flash and sparkle?
Well, he's certainly on his way to London right now, and he perhaps thinks he's the man. There are other, obviously, and we heard Benedict Pavio in the last hour, naming some of the inside politics names. All sorts of people from Wes Streeting, the health minister, to Angela Rayner, the former deputy prime minister, more to the left of Keir Starmer, more progressive. All these people have been thrown out there as possible candidates. Andy Burnham right now is front and center in most of the bookies' bets, right? In been most of the speculation over who is most likely to win a leadership contest, which is why we have really two separate timelines here. You mentioned it at the very outset. We could have a new Prime Minister in place really by mid-July if Andy Burnham, there is no leadership contest, if he essentially runs unopposed and is basically a shoo-in that case for the Prime Minister's position. But if there is a leadership contest, and you can't rule anything out, if there is a leadership contest, that means that we won't see until the end of August who's going to be the next Prime Minister. And in this sense, Keir Starmer has sort of seized back one thing for himself, even as he gracefully, as people have been saying, in a dignified manner, gave up the helm, stepped down from the prime ministership. He's staying on. He's given himself at least the agency to stay on and to at least set the timeline, because he made it very clear that he wants to see a smooth and orderly transition, as Benedict Pavio was reporting in the last hour. In all respects, though, the manner in which he delivered this speech today, the circumstances under which he delivered it, and even the applause he got from his own staff, very hearty applause on the steps of Downing Street there, show that this is a man who, even if they don't see him as the best man to lead Britain forward into a future, into a Labour-driven future, they do respect him as a person, and they think that he was a dignified political character at a time when those types of politicians seem to be often in shorter and shorter supply.